We're 1 minute late. You know how I feel about this 1 minute late.
Well, that's never wrong. Right?
That's right. Good evening, everyone. I do my best to try to start us on time. We're 1 minute late, so. I'd like to call to order the Emergency Services Council meeting for January 15th, 2015. May we have a roll call, please?
Atherton. Belmont.
Here. Bronstein.
Brisbane. Burlingame.
Here.
Colma.
Here.
Daly City. East Palo Alto.
Here.
Foster City. Half Moon Bay. Hillsborough.
Here.
Menlo Park. Millbrae. Pacifica.
Here.
Redwood City. Oh, Portola Valley, I'm sorry.
Here.
Redwood City. San Bruno.
Here.
San Carlos. San Mateo.
Here.
South San Francisco. Woodside.
Here.
County of San Mateo.
Here. Thank you very much. Our item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from our September 18th meeting, 2014. Anybody have any corrections or changes or anything?
Move approval of me.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, one abstention.
Abstain also.
2 abstentions. Okay, we have a consent agenda. No action is requested. We'll start, I guess, with our operational area report.
Good morning, or good evening, Madam Chair and honorable members of the council. Good evening, and the operational report is included in your packets. If there's any questions, that is just our kind of data and statistical report on some of the activities. So if there's any questions, I'll answer that.
Okay, so now we're going to go on to old business, the JPA revision update with Captain Weiss.
Yes, I am very, very happy to report that we have made tremendous forward progress with this. And the report that I have in front of you is that all cities have presented the matter to their councils and have approved it. We have a couple that are still behind, or actually up until yesterday, we had 3 that were scheduled for this week. So San Carlos, we have in their possession. They went to council on the 12th. Menlo Park went on the 13th, although we do not have it in our possession yet, but it'll be on its way. And I was just informed that Colma passed theirs last night. And so the only one outstanding is the city of Redwood City, and they are on agenda for February 9th next month. So that will be the last. And we are in the process of preparing our board memo for the Board of Supervisors and the resolution. And we are scheduled to go on in February. I don't know the date of the February meeting, but I think we're
It's either the 10th or the 24th.
10th or the 24th. One of those two, depending on when we get the board memo in and everything, we'll be presenting the final package to the Board of Supervisors for final approval of the JPA.
Okay.
Thank you for all your efforts, and clearly for my staff and County Council Silberman and everybody who was able to make this happen over the last 2 years.
Thank you, Captain. And it looks like you're up for the next item as well, the Skylon radio tower lease update.
Yeah, we last meeting I didn't have too much to report, but this one we're moving a little bit more forward. The master plan that North Star was putting together up at their property up there is complete, and they are just seeking a couple of exhibits from us. Basically the location of our building and a couple other specs that they are looking for. Those will be added to the lease agreement with North Star as appendixes, and then we'll be ready to go ahead and move forward with the lease. And again, that'll be a 7-year lease with the option of 3 one-year lease extensions. So probably when we come back here in April, we'll be able to report out that that has been finally executed.
Great, wonderful. Okay, no questions or comments. We'll move on to item number 3, which is the San Francisco International Airport JPA ESC update. Lieutenant Kernan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of council. As you know, this has been an ongoing process. We submitted the JPA, the revised JPA, to the San Francisco City Attorney for review, and we have since contacted Mr. John Martin, who is the director of the San Francisco Airport, to meet with him directly to explain to him our desire for the airport to join. and to go over the funding formula with him. So I'm waiting for him to contact me back, and as soon as he reaches back out to me after Tuesday of next week, we plan on driving up there and meeting with him in person to move this request forward as well. So I'll hopefully have better news for you during the April meeting as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other question on that, we'll move to new business, Fire Battalion Chief OES position.
Back up again. Just to bring you back to the last meeting, we had a lengthy discussion about the proposal that I had put forward about adding a fire battalion chief position to the Office of Emergency Services, and how that would be funded was through a matching grant that we have through what we refer to as the EMPG grant, and it's a fully matching grant. Proposed to you that we had met with the Fire Chiefs Association and the Police Chiefs Association, and they were in support of this position. After our meeting here, where you had given me the authority to move forward with meeting with the city managers, we followed through with that process and gained their support. And essentially, we are now in the process where we are back in front of you to propose the position in the form of a budget modification for funding that position. The next agenda item kind of goes into that, and our fiscal manager, Narayan Nair, is here to go over the budget modification and any questions that you might have regarding that. But I did want to introduce you, assuming that we do approve that today, that we worked with the Fire Chiefs Association, and Battalion Chief Dave Pucci is in the back there. And again, if everything goes as we hope, Dave will be joining the OES effective next week, and will be with us through June. And if you remember, we'll be hopefully during January and June, we're going to be able to work with that, provide the council with a little bit more specificity about the position, what we see that position doing moving forward. And there were some questions about at last meeting about better enhanced communications, not necessarily out at the scenes, but in better enhanced communication with fire departments, law enforcement, emergency managers, and all that, which we do believe that this position will in fact do. So again, Dave will be a huge asset to us. He was out. We had an exercise yesterday, Operation Cohesive Capabilities. He was in our virtual command post yesterday, helping me organize law enforcement and fire into a unified command. So even before that, he's already assisting us in what we envision moving forward.
Okay, are there any comments or questions on position? Okay, well then we will move into the budget modification so we can understand how this is going to happen.
Again, I'd like to introduce Narayan Nair. He is our fiscal manager from the Sheriff's Office. As I reported last time, Alina Portas has left the Sheriff's Office. Narayan is filling in with her, for her in the meantime. So, Narayan.
Good evening. My name is Narayan Nair, and I'm Finance Manager for Sheriff's Office, and I'm here to help with this budget. This evening, I'm presenting a proposed revised fiscal year 14-15 budget incorporating a 6-month cost of the Fire Battalion Chief that was approved in the Council in September 2014. You have the following documents with you: a summary of basic charges by agency, cost sharing, allocation, OES budget with the addition of the battalion chief costs. The proposed revised budget is for $2,204,493. This is an increase of $153,550 from the last adopted budget. EMPG grant covers $71,734 of this cost, and the balance is to be shared 50% between the JPA agencies and the county. And this comes to about $40,907. As you may be aware, the JPA budget is presented in two parts. One is the Office of Emergency Services, and the second is the HAZMAT. HAZMAT budget remains as adopted previously. The changes are only in the Office of Emergency Services budget. And once adopted by the Council, we'll submit supplemental invoices to the member agencies for the additional cost. An update on the close of fiscal year 13-14 budget. At the close of the accounting records for fiscal year 13-14, Office of Emergency Services recorded a shortfall of $32,479. And at the same time, Environmental Health, which is a hazmat budget, recorded a surplus of $28,424. A combined net shortfall of $4,055 was taken out of the reserves against a budget of $28,614. So there was a savings of about $24,000 from what was approved for fiscal year 13-14. And projection for this current fiscal year, a revised budget was adopted in April 2014. The council approved use of reserves $21,141 for OES and $24,081 for hazmat, for a combined total of $45,222. In November 2014, county approved a 4% cost of living adjustment for county employees, and this effectively increases the OES personnel cost by $14,432 for the 14 pay periods remaining in this fiscal year. A year-end projection for this fiscal year shows a possible savings in the OES budget, and we believe that there will be sufficient funds to cover this additional cost without taking any additional money from the fund balance. So whatever was approved, which is $21,141 for OES, we should be able to cover this additional cost from that fund. Environmental Health, which is the hazmat budget, has informed me that this COLA will not increase their cost because their employees are on call, and it only will affect them if they are called out. And they project a savings in this remaining fiscal year, which should be sufficient to cover any shortfalls. So I'm not proposing any increase in fund balance use, but just use whatever was approved, which is $45,222 for this fiscal year. And fund balance statement is revised to show actual fund balance at the beginning of this current fiscal year, plus anticipated closing fund balance based on approved budget. You have the fund balance chart with the packet, and at the close of this fiscal year, we anticipate having $182,746 in our fund balance. As mentioned earlier, you have the following documents in your packet for review and approval: a revised fiscal year 14-15 budget, a revised JPA cost sharing, and summary of basic charges by agency. That concludes my presentation. And if there's any questions, I'll try to answer that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on this? Now, do we, it's hard to tell by the agenda, is this for action, or is this just, this is for action? Okay. So we have a budget modification. Is there a motion to approve?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I do have a question.
Oh, sure, please.
In regards to the grant, once the grant is completed, what happens after that?
The grant is an annual grant. We've been receiving it consistently for a long time, at least 10 years. And in addition to consistently receiving it, it incrementally goes up. So there's nothing on the forecast right now that indicates that that funding source would go away.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Jack.
Mentioned earlier that the airport is considering joining the JPA. Do you anticipate that they'll be joining before the end of the fiscal year? And if so, what effect would that have on our budget?
I anticipate they will not join before July 1st of 2015. It's been a slow road traveled. I think that between now and then, we could get the language set and the agreements in place. And in regards to their financial contribution, we were talking about just adding that to the fund balance. And in speaking of the fund balance, because Narayan spoke on it a few minutes ago, that we did dip into the fund balance a little to balance the last fiscal year's budget. And we did form a finance working group, which is comprised of members from the North, Central, and South, and also our Madam Chair, to help our fiscal department with the mid-year and budget proposal that we'll be presenting in the April meeting. And one discussion was in regards to the fund balance is, what's the minimum amount that we want to keep? How do we use this? Should we have a policy on the use of the fund balance so that we just don't arbitrarily go into it to to balance our budget. So that'll be an agenda item for this working group, and it'll probably happen in the month of February or March before the April meeting. So I can report to you on our findings with that. And they'll also discuss how to use the San Francisco money if it does happen, and whatever that amount is. Do we want to put that in the fund balance or add it to the participating cities and redistribute the monies that way?
But, and we are beginning to plan for a 2-year cycle, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other further questions? Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes. Thank you and congratulations to our new fire battalion chief. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 6, which is the EMA update, Operation Cohesive Capability.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, the emergency managers were quite busy in 2014. One of the big items for us was assisting in the Joint Powers Agreement rewrite and implementation. We had a working group that worked on that quite hard. As you mentioned, we're 3/4 of the way through the Operation Cohesive Capability Exercise Series. The third exercise was conducted yesterday in the south portion of the county. The series started in November on the coast. In December, the central portion of the county had their exercise, and the series will complete in February with the north section of the county. When all the 4 exercises are done, the vendor is going to be giving a complete comprehensive after-action report with recommendations. I can tell you from the participation of my city and the surrounding cities in the central zone from December, we got a lot of positive feedback from our staff. They really enjoyed it, got a lot of good training out of it. It was kind of worked out well because it happened right a week before the December 11th storm. So they were already in that kind of emergency response EOC mindset when the storm hit. So they said that that was very beneficial. As with any exercise or training, you get more work out of the end of it with things that you need to follow up on. My city specifically called for additional training for its staff, and we've got some technology updates we have to work on. So it was a very positive thing for the county. We also have the Emergency Managers Association. One of the goals I had for the outgoing president for 2014 was to get a website up and going. And we now have a website for the Emergency Managers Association that both has a public side and a members side. The members side we found very beneficial. We're using it as a document exchange. One of the things is so that our various working groups working on different projects can share information, and it gives them a central location to pull down documents and submit projects they're working on. So that's been very beneficial. We're planning on putting some more information up on the public side of disaster preparedness that would be in concert with what the Office of Emergency Services is doing. We have links to each other's websites so that if you find one, you'll find the other. So. We also updated our bylaws to better define the roles of our various working groups and to formalize a process on working on projects. That we gained a lot of experience this year working on different projects with the Fire Chiefs Association and the Police Chiefs Association, and have streamlined our process so the various groups in the county work together better. We also, like I said, elected a new board in December. The 2015 board, the president is Bill Eichner from San Mateo Fire. The vice president is Ken Anderson from South San Francisco. Unfortunately, Ken couldn't be here tonight. Our secretary is Janelle Masterton from San Mateo Foster City Fire. And not wanting to get rid of the reins quite yet, I took on the role as treasurer. This year we were able to actually acquire some money from a previous association that had gone inactive, and we now have a checking account at the credit union that we hope to have some money to maybe bring in guest speakers or pay for some training or other things that having funds would be beneficial for. This coming year, the new board met yesterday, and we're planning on working on the city and town emergency operation plan updates. The county's base plan and annexes are getting ready to be completed, and there's a requirement that the cities be consistent with the county's plan. So once that's in place, then the cities will go forward and update all of their plans. That'll be a big project for us next year. A lot of cities are working on doing their local hazard mitigation plans. That's going to be a large project. And we've also talked a lot about expanding training and getting more training specifically for city staff that aren't normally in the emergency response business. And there's been a real call for that, and we think that's really needed. So we're also going to be working on emergency management mutual aid, so that if there is a large incident, say, I'll use San Bruno as an example. You open up your EOC for the San Bruno gas line explosion, and you have an EOC that's running for several days, so eventually you run out of staff. Pretty quickly you run out of staff. And the ability for emergency managers from different jurisdictions in the county that are not directly affected, they'd be able to come in and work in ops or logistics or whatever to support each other in a large-scale emergency. So we have a lot of stuff on the plate, but we all enjoy the work, and we think it's really beneficial for the county. So if anybody has any questions?
Thank you, Captain. Any questions? Thank you. That was a great report. Okay, item number 7 is our hazmat update. Ken Thrasher, Battalion Chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Council. It's Kent Thrasher, Battalion Chief with the Belmont Fire Protection District. I also manage your hazmat team for the county. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present a short update on your hazardous materials response team for 2014. Through the calendar year, we've ran 21 calls for service for hazardous materials service calls. It's a low number as it relates from year to year, but we've taken advantage of the extra time this year and worked on a typing process to become certified in the state as a Type 2 hazmat team. Gives us the ability to seek some further grant funds, as well as makes us a resource for large incidents throughout the state. Beyond that, we dealt with hazmat incidents from Menlo Park to South San Francisco, from the Bay to the coast, handling responses for everything from hydrogen sulfate to dichloromethane, to cake mix, you name it, we went to it. This was all handled by crews from the Belmont Fire Protection District that have a dual role as your hazardous materials response team and hazardous materials specialist. We do all those in a cooperative effort with OES, with environmental health, with our local resources from police and fire, whatever jurisdictions we're going to. So it's a very large collaborative effort that works really well in this county, serves us well. In the coming year, we look forward to bringing a couple new recruits on that Belmont has hired that'll have to go through the hazmat training process. It's a 6-week process. We also look forward to bringing in some new technology to our team. Some grants have been secured, and we're looking at some new equipment to bring in. We also look at trying to expand our resource pool with our shared resources that we're using in Belmont through Foster City and San Mateo. So we look forward to that. With that said, unless there's any questions, I really don't have anything else. I appreciate your time, and we appreciate your support.
Great, thank you. Any questions for our Battalion Chief? You're off the hook.
Thank you.
We're going to have a drought update by Brian Mulver. Is Brian here? There you go.
Good evening, Madam Chair and honorable members of the council. The current situation with the drought in the county is good enough to suspend the incidents that we were monitoring. The number one incident was the Alpine Creek water shortage that serves a portion of Pescadero. And we were watching that because if the water level in the creek was at a level below 3 inches, we would have to close that source off and start hauling water. We didn't have to do that, but we had plans in place to do that. The creek hasn't gone below 15 inches for quite a while now. So that is suspended, and all the other little incidents that have happened in mainly the southwest part of the county have been suspended or closed. The people have moved from the properties where water was not sourceable from a well or a creek. And animals also have been moved from those hazard areas where no water is available. The recent rains that we had in December we got a lot of water, but not enough to do anything to the snowpack or our reservoirs here. So, and the outlook is, it is improved right now with that rain, but it's not going to last long. We're going to go back to extreme drought conditions in the county very soon. I'm monitoring the situation casually, and I'm in touch with the state. As soon as we go back into extreme, statewide conference calls will happen with the drought. We'll be one of the participants on the call. They were weekly until about September, when we had no issues, and in September we went to no real hazard conditions, and that's when we suspended our monitoring. The state suspended theirs in December after that first rain. We're standing by for the next call for when it gets worse.
Thank you, Brian. I have a question for you. I'm sure it doesn't help a lot of the areas, but I heard this morning on the news that they were letting out a significant amount of water out of Crystal Springs.
They are. That's a good topic.
I was sort of curious
Today-
what that did for us.
Today, that didn't do anything for us. But what it did was allowed the SFPUC to test an emergency valve operation and function. Those emergency valves take a long time to stop the water and let the water go. And they tested those at different points in their system. And so far, I hear they're successful.
But the water that came from them was going to be going into some of our creeks.
Yes, that'll be going into the San Mateo Creek from the lower Crystal Springs Reservoir in the town of Hilsborough, San Mateo, and Foster City at the output.
I see, okay.
It wasn't at any hazardous or flooding level, but they just did some measurements and some speed checks on how fast it flowed and how well their floodgates or their valves worked.
Thank you. I was just sort of curious.
If I could follow up on that. When I first read this, I thought, so you're gonna draw it down, the reservoir down 10%, but maybe that's not really what you were trying to say. Maybe you're trying to say is you want to be able to demonstrate that you can do that. And that's based on the level of flow that you get through the valves, how many cubic feet per minute or second. So you're not necessarily drawing it down 10%, is that correct?
I'm not sure. I would have to rely on SFPUC staff to answer that question.
That sounds like an awful lot of water if we're drawing it down 10%, so that's where I'm going to choose to read this, because otherwise it seems crazy to draw it down 10% when we're in the middle of an extreme drought. Okay?
It might be helpful, I'm sort of curious on that level too. I wonder if you could check that out and just send us an email, let us know if it really was 10% or that,
Okay.
what they really let go.
Maybe by the end of this meeting, I'll have an answer.
Well, I guess that's soon enough.
Okay.
So hurry up, will you?
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, the December rainstorm and recovery, Lieutenant Kernan. It was quite the month.
Okay, we go from drought to floods. I think as most of you know, in December last month, the county proclaimed a local state of emergency. We had an emergency meeting here with the Board of Supervisors and went to the governor's office. It was accepted, and since then, we've been in the recovery phase of the December 11th rainstorm. I put together a quick PowerPoint presentation, and then I'm available to answer any questions that you may have. So we did have significant flooding here in the county, specific to the city of South San Francisco, Belmont, Redwood City, and Pescadero. Those are the big problem spots. There were additional flooding in other areas as well. OES did activate our Emergency Operations Center to level 2, and we also responded to the scene to assist in scene management coordination with some of the command posts that were out there. And HSA, our Human Services Agency, was very active in setting up evacuation centers, and the College of San Mateo offered their facilities, and we housed over 100 evacuees for a number of days during this incident. The rainfall totals throughout the county, and I have the numbers here for you to look at. As you can see, we got a lot of inches very quickly, which caused the problem, especially at the mobile trailer park in Belmont, where the Highway 101 retaining wall. It was acting like a dam, and it was preventing the water from escaping. Same with Redwood City, with the, as a result of the simultaneous high tide, they also had flooding in their mobile home park as well. These are the towns and cities who responded to the events throughout the county, and as you can see, I want specific attention to the county manager's office. They were very proactive during this incident and formed a task force of all department heads who represented all of the resources and disciplines. And we had daily meetings every morning with the county manager's office to make sure that the citizens and residents were being well taken care of and that all resources were being utilized, which made it a lot easier for OES as well. So I'm very appreciative of that. Nonprofit agencies, the American Red Cross was very involved in helping us with the shelters. It's difficult to manage those without their assistance, as well as the Salvation Army and the California Conservation Corps. Cal OES was available to assist us, especially during the recovery phase when we had to open the local assistance centers and get the Small Business Administration loan approvals. They were very, very actively involved in that, as well as Caltrans, because it affected a lot of their properties. Again, the shelter at the College of San Mateo was open for almost a week, and there's a picture of it. We have, OES actually has a trailer stationed up there, and it's equipped with cots and bedding and emergency supplies, so we were able to open that up and go through the inventory and use it. So it was a good exercise for us as well, and a good inventory check to make sure that all of our stuff is ready to go. Damage, South San Francisco received probably the extent of the damage of 27 homes, and some also some private businesses were flooded, and all of these homeowners and residents were eligible to apply for low-interest loans at the local assistance center, and that information was provided to them. In Belmont, the mobile home park on Harbor Road had received some significant flooding, which caused us to evacuate the whole area there, and that was a good exercise for us as well, because it tapped all of our resources. As you know, we're a very small staff, and we were supporting numerous incidents simultaneously, as well as trying to activate and staff our emergency operations center. So it was a good run for us that weekend as well. Pescadero, actually good news to report. They're usually the ones on the forefront and get hit the first and the hardest and receive the most flooding. And because of a lot of the steps that we've taken over the last year with our new coastside coordinator and working with the PMAC Council in Pescadero and Public Works, that we were able to better prepare for the flooding. And it really wasn't very significant this time. And I was able to pull my coastside coordinator for a few hours and bring him over to Redwood City and Belmont and help us on the bay side, which was quite unusual. Usually it's the other way around. So we feel pretty confident that we're doing well on the coast side these days. And the initial damage estimate, and this number was provided by all the cities during the initial conference calls we had with the cities, was $3.8 million. I think now that it's over and we're getting some better figures, I think that the real number is $2.6 million now in damages. A lot of this is not private property, like people's homes. A lot of this is infrastructure, roads, and whatnot. Some of it is personnel time that the cities and county expended in using their public works and personnel services. So it's a collective aggregate of all. Yes? Go ahead.
Yeah, it did just go up $1 million because of damage in Pacifica recently. Had a new assessment of the damage, and it's a $1 million increase. And this figure will go up and down until assessments are completed and repairs are better understood.
Pacifica, you haven't been forgotten. We have you. Thank you. And that's it for the slide presentation. If you have any questions in regards to our level of response or cooperative allied agreements or anything, I'm willing to respond to those.
What were there, is it, maybe you haven't done a review yet, but are there any lessons learned from it that things we could do better next time?
There's always lessons learned, and we are actually having a huge debriefing that the city of Belmont is allowing us to use your Emergency Operations Center to host that, and that's in February. We actually created a questionnaire that we're sending out to all agencies and personnel involved, asking them what they thought went well, what didn't go well, if they thought there was command and control at the different locations, or if they didn't, so that we can do better next time. My personal thing, and it's always a reminder, the state is always here to help us, but they're usually here to help us during the recovery phase, not during the response phase. We need to be self-resilient as a community, as a county, working together. And I think by bringing in not just our public works agencies, who are a big player in these responses, but thinking about the other agencies like Caltrans. Caltrans had a lot of responsibility in a lot of this, the cascading of effect of these floods that initially they weren't taking ownership or responsibility for. So we realized to bring in some of these other players to help us with this problem-solving effort, and then some of our contractors and our nonprofit partners. So I think the relationship building is always going to be strengthened by situations like this, and that's why we're doing that Operation Cohesive Capability with this multi-agency concept of communities working together, cities working together, instead of trying to do it independently like we have traditionally in the past. I think that's probably the big takeaway. The other thing is the MOU that the college district recently signed with us, with OES and also with Red Cross. That saved our bacon. We had over 100 evacuees, and without their assistance to open their campus for a shelter, each city would have opened their own, which they could have. I know South San Francisco had their own shelter that they could have managed, but then our resources would have been split, and we wouldn't have been able to provide them as expeditiously as we did. So I think just these partnerships that we continue to create are starting to prove themselves to us. So do you have anything in specific that you think that
No,
that
I was
you
just,
may have noted?
I was just trying to see what we learned
Yeah.
from it. So.
Well, we did learn that when the water is dirty, we can't pump it until we get permission from environmental health. So that kind of held up the fire and the law decision makers, but we finally got the command decision made, and then we could start pumping water, because that's what we wanted to do. So that was always an interesting concept, but that's how you learn, right, during the event.
Any other comments or questions?
I
Yes.
just had a question about how you felt the emergency response system went. Were people informed in a timely way so they could leave their houses, or they, could avoid certain roadways and things like that?
Yes. We use the SMC alert to notify residents and citizens, and then also with our partners with fire and police. And a lot of these were very specific locations. The mobile home parks in Redwood City and in Belmont, we actually one of my deputies, we gave him a set of waders, and he put them on, and he actually went door to door and made the notifications that way. In Redwood City, fire and police were down at the other mobile home park. South San Francisco, it was actual houses, so that was a different situation. But we did utilize the SMC alert and our TENS, which is our reverse 911 notification, and then also we used our PIOs, our press information officers, to put out messaging to the media. And nowadays we're using Twitter and social media as well, which is very helpful to getting the word out quickly.
Terry?
I had two questions. Just to clarify, with the additional $1 million, what is the estimated damage total?
That would bring it up to 2.7 million.
So 2.7, okay.
Is that correct, Brian?
I thought you said it was,
It's still going to fluctuate.
but what's the best guess?
The best guess is to remain at this 3.8.
3.8, okay.
I would just stay there right now.
Okay.
As it may fluctuate.
And my other question was, how many cities called up their certs for the?
I believe the coast side used their CERT. Belmont's CERT was very active. They actually responded to the scene. Did you have, go ahead.
The number we got through emergency managers, 8 jurisdictions called up CERT. I know that Belmont, we had ours in the EOC, in the field, and they also worked the shelters along with San Mateo and Foster City. CERT members worked the shelters up at CSM. I know that South San Francisco relied heavily on their CERT folks.
I heard Millbrae did.
Yeah, there was, like I said, 8 was the number that I've heard, was 8 jurisdictions used CERT.
Yeah, I'd really like to know which ones those were, just for background, if you don't mind.
And we're going to be having, at our next week is our emergency managers January meeting, and every other month we have the CERT coordinators meeting, so we'll be having a meeting with CERT coordinators, and I hopefully can have a number for you.
I'd love to know how that went. That's great. Thank you.
You mentioned that in the Belmont Mobile Home Park that the acoustical, the sound wall for the freeway was actually preventing the site from being drained properly. I think that's what you said. And if that's the case, are we pursuing a solution to that so that we don't have that dam flooding our people?
Caltrans is responsible for dredging that area, and the water was impeded. It was not flowing because they failed to dredge it in the last number of years. It was just overlooked. It wasn't a priority, so that became a priority for them. As long as they maintain their property, the wall, it's not actually the sound wall. It's the lack of dredging and clearing an escape path for the water to flow. We also, the property owner installed a sump pump in the ground in the back of the property, so it automatically turns on and it pumps it out into Harbor. Right now, it goes out to Harbor Boulevard.
Okay, I hope that's clean water he's pumping. Okay, the other thing I just want to say is I applaud the fact that you are next month having sort of a debriefing and going over things to make sure that wherever there are gaps in our response that we can fill those and do a better job each time. Thank you.
Yes, and that's good for us too, as emergency managers, to understand where we lack and where we can improve as well. So thank you.
Dave?
Thank you. Oh, thank you. So I just wanted to thank OES and all the responders for the work they did for Belmont, because it made a huge difference. There were a lot of people who were displaced from their mobile homes for several days, and there was collections there was a collection process where people were given a number of food items and cards and things like that to be able to purchase items. So I just wanted to reach out and thank any of the jurisdictions that came to help us. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, and also thanks to your, I think it was Nisbet School in your town that raised $30,000 for the victims, and personally was at our reunification ceremony. So please pass on our gratitude to them as well.
Will do. Thank you.
Any other further questions? I also want to say, there were a lot of employees. In fact, we honored them at the last board meeting just this past Tuesday. A lot of employees of the county also were there. As you mentioned, HSA, Public Works, Sheriff's Department, Environmental Health. I think, some of the departments we were giving out the certificates to, it's like, wow, they were out there too. I mean, it was a collective effort, not just by our county, because obviously there were other people, but it really was amazing to me how many of our county employees were actually out there.
And the importance of the planning department, we learned.
Absolutely.
Very important.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks to all the agencies and all those that participated. It was tremendous, absolutely tremendous. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to Lieutenant Kernan once again for the Emergency Operations Plan and Annex update.
Thank you. And as mentioned by Captain Halloran, he mentioned the Emergency Operations Plan for the county. We just finished and completed our emergency operations plan, and this plan is for the operational area, which consists of the boundaries of San Mateo County, which includes town, city, special districts, so it's for the whole operational area. And it consists of a base plan, a hazard plan, what identifies all the hazards in our county, and then it has annexes that are called emergency functions, and we have 15 emergency functions. Each one of those is specific to a discipline or a need. I'm proud to say that it took us about 2 years to do this, but the state of California has not done their emergency functions yet. So I think San Francisco County and now San Mateo are the only 2 counties in the state that have these. We did use an industry standard. We hired a consultant, and they were vetted through our Emergency Management Association and also vetted through all of our key departments that would be directly impacted or affected by these plans, so that they understood their responsibility, and they had a buy-in as a stakeholder to the development of these plans. And then I vetted them through the Cal OES themselves, and I wanted to get their blessing before we move forward. So now the vetting is done. Yesterday, I presented the emergency operations plan to our county manager, Mr. John Malpe. It is currently in his office and being reviewed by him. He asked me if we would put this on the Board of Supervisors, one of the agenda meetings, and do a presentation to the board on behalf of the county. One thing we would like to offer, now that this was a long, enduring, and expensive project, we have this on electronic form, and one of my district coordinators will create a template for cities, and you can simply plug and play your city information into it, and you can use what you like from this plan to create your own city plan. I know the city of San Carlos hired a consultant about a year ago, and you wrote your own, but other than that, I don't know of any other cities that may have these. So this would be a really good opportunity for cities to take advantage of using our plan to, for your own needs as well. So you'll all be getting a copy of this once it goes through our Board of Supervisors for formal adoption.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Lieutenant? Okay, well, thank you. We'll now move on to our Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities, Nancy McGee. Welcome, Nancy.
Supervisor Tessier and council members. I'm here to give you an update on the new organization in San Mateo County called the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities. It's been in the works since 2013. The elected leaders in the county gathered a team of, say, on-the-ground experts in the various fields around school safety, behavioral health, emergency response, and all the legal frameworks that accompany all that, and convened a large gathering in 2013. At that event, there were three strands that we addressed: the emergency response, mental health supports for schools and students, and information sharing. And that work then continued in task force for about a year, and now we've launched a whole organizational structure called the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities to keep the work going. You will be hearing about it at each of your meetings. I'll be a standing item on your agenda, so I'll be reporting. We were able to report our progress to Supervisor Tessier, Supervisor Horsley, and Congresswoman Spear in mid-December on the work that we've accomplished in the three different areas. There is actually a lot of things going on, so I'm going to give you a very excerpt version of some of the highlights in the three. One thing I would say about the work, and that makes it unique across the state, is that we are really actively engaging in building systems in all three areas at the same time. So we're not just addressing emergency response plans for schools all on its own in a silo, but we're also pairing that with the mental health work and the information sharing. So when you put all three together, they're like three safety nets in a row for our kids in our communities. And it makes a very strong big picture for increased safety and success for our kids. So we have a steering committee that meets about monthly, every 6 weeks. It's represented by law enforcement, fire, probation, county council, the supervisor's office, the community college, the K-8 schools, the 9-12 schools, the County Office of Education, and Behavioral Health. So it's a very good group. We will be driving the agenda. I can tell you that the focus for 2015 will be in the information sharing arena. There has been an MOU developed that is ready to launch out to all the partners around how we will legally and effectively share information for improved student safety in the county. So that MOU will require a process of presentations and information, question and answer sessions, and then we expect that the leaders will follow through and sign those MOUs. In addition to that, County Council has developed an electronic consent form that all agencies in the county will be able to use, including school districts, law enforcement, behavioral health, nonprofit agencies, and government, whoever is working with youth, the HSA. The document is 2 pages. It's a pull-down menu, so you can pick the different kinds of records and things that you need to share, and it populates with the required laws and is much easier for everyone to use and manage. So we're very excited about that. In the emergency response field, you might have heard about the Big Five. It's the countywide protocol for schools. It involves 5 immediate actions that you would take in any kind of emergency. We were trying desperately to simplify and get a message out, and the Big Five really has taken hold. All the Police Chiefs and Sheriffs Association endorsed the protocols. The county fire chiefs have recently endorsed and have posted the documents on all of their websites. We are training in the schools. We held a big training in the summer with 50 school leaders, and we are counting on their leadership at the site levels to implement the plans. We've also conducted other trainings at the County Office of Education. We're engaging the private schools at a very high level. We've worked with the Archdiocese of San Francisco. They've attended our trainings. And we have a training, in fact, on January 27th, and there are 50 individuals representing about 25 different agencies attending that. So the training continues, and that's really kind of the phase we're in. Law enforcement also will be working on their own training to implement the Big Five. In addition, behavioral health is working to adapt their own version of the Big Five, as is the community college district. And I would propose that one vision that we might have for this is that all of San Mateo County adopts the Big Five at the cities, in private business, and it's a common language that we can all understand, and it's pretty fundamental responses, so I think it could actually work. If your city were interested in how to move towards that, I'd be happy to meet with you along with Captain Weiss, I'm sure, and we could discuss that. And then finally, the other pillar is the mental health supports in the work. There are, through Measure A dollars, we're collaborating with the county to put on youth mental health first aid courses for school staff across the county, as well as parent project courses. Since October of 2013, we've trained 450 school staff members, and we have 322 parents in school districts who've completed the parent project. The parent project is an amazingly powerful program. It's a 10-week course that requires attending 1 night a week. It requires childcare for the little ones, food, and the course helps parents who are working with kids who are moving into adolescence and or are having challenges with difficult behavior in how to manage and be better parents. So it's a really powerful program. And then finally, we are in the process through our Director of Safe and Supportive Schools at the County Office of Education, which is another position that's in part funded by Measure A. Building school-based mental health collaboratives across the county that parallel the community service areas of behavioral health. So far, there are 3 collaboratives that are up and running. The 3 are San Mateo, these are school districts now, San Mateo, Foster City, San Mateo Union High School District, and Burlingame are one collaborative that's in motion. Cabrillo Unified and La Honda Pescadero on the coast. And then in the north, Jefferson Union High School District, Jefferson Elementary, Brisbane, Bayshore, and Pacifica have a very active collaborative that County Council and I, County Council Claire Cunningham and I attended last week and did a training on threat assessment. So they're already asking for training and and starting to establish their priorities. So with all of these things in place, we intend to have much more to report to you at your quarterly meetings. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Nancy. Any questions for Nancy? I just want to say that between Nancy, Captain Weiss, and our behavioral health, they've really done a tremendous job. And this is something we have to remember is a living, breathing document. These are not things that are going to warm our shelves. These are things we're going to continue to train as people come and go through the school district, as they come and go through law enforcement, as they come and go through behavioral health. So this is something, in order to keep our community safe, it isn't just a one-stop shopping, so to speak. It's an ongoing shopping trip, if you will. So Nancy and Mark, thank you so much for all the work you've done, and there's just been a lot of input by a lot of individuals, and it's amazing how much has been done in this short period of time.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have one more report to go, and that is our report by Red Cross. Is Isabel Flores here? I don't think you're Isabel. I'm just going to guess. Wild stab at this one.
Madam Chair, members of council, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to address you tonight. My name is Go Fanai with the American Red Cross, and I'm filling in for my colleague Isabel Flores, who unfortunately isn't able to be here tonight. Our longtime colleague Olga Crow, who used to be the disaster program manager, has unfortunately been reassigned to serve Alameda and Contra Costa counties. So Isabel and I look forward to working with all of you moving forward. Tonight, I'd like to update you on some of the responses we've had in San Mateo County. Since September 18th, our last council meeting, we've responded to 23 disaster incidents. Of those 23, 14 were home fires, 6 floods, 2 police actions, 1 hazmat. And in those 23 responses, we assisted 194 clients. 147 of those were adults, 47 were children. To break that down by city, we responded to 3 disasters in Belmont, assisting 10 clients, 3 in Daly City, 10 clients, 1 in East Palo Alto, 31 clients, 2 in Half Moon Bay, 10 clients, 1 in Hilsborough, 3 clients, 2 in Redwood City, 7 clients, 4 in San Bruno, 16 clients, 1 in San Carlos, 3 clients, 4 in San Mateo, 45 clients, and 1 in South San Francisco, 3 clients. Lieutenant Kernan has already addressed the winter storms. Just to add a little bit more depth to that report, the Red Cross has assisted 98 families from the winter storms, and that amounts to 333 clients. It might be of interest to note that 45% of those clients were monolingual Spanish speakers. And of those families, 53 lived in Redwood City from the 2 mobile homes. 32 families lived in Belmont, 8 families from South San Francisco, 4 from San Bruno, and 1 from Pacifica. And one additional item I'd like to update you all about, that the American Red Cross is rolling out a nationwide campaign called the Home Fire Preparedness Campaign. This is a nationwide effort aimed to reduce the number of deaths and injuries from home fires by installing smoke alarms in homes located in neighborhoods heavily affected by fires. The campaign aims to reduce the number of deaths and injuries by as much as 25% over the next 5 years. Along with installing smoke alarms, the Red Cross hopes to join with fire departments and community groups to canvass neighborhoods and teach people all over the U.S. about fire safety. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for being here tonight. We appreciate it. Are there any questions?
I just had a quick question. I was just wondering how most families get in touch with the Red Cross. Do they call themselves, or are they connected through the various agencies in the county?
The large majority of the time, the fire departments will call our dispatch center, and then we are called to the scene. So it's always through usually the fire departments were deployed. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Yes.
Can you repeat the number for East Palo Alto?
Sure. We responded to one disaster incident in East Palo to 31 clients. And for the winter storm response, we did not have anything recorded.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much. Oh, Lieutenant, yes, please.
Thank you, Go. That was an outstanding report. We look forward to you participating in the Disaster Preparedness Day coming up this summer with us as well. The 31 clients was that police action last week that we were involved in for the evacuees. Before we close this evening, I just wanted to recognize Captain Mark Weiss. Mark has served over 30 years with San Mateo County, and this will be his last meeting tonight. He is retiring at the end of March. He's got other opportunities that he'll be seeking after his county service, but I did want to tell you that Mark was the first captain of Homeland Security for San Mateo County, and he did an outstanding job with managing the OES, because that was just one of the bureaus at the time under him when he was operations, and then he formed it into its own division, and we call it the Homeland Security Division, which comprises both the Office of Emergency Services and the Emergency Services Bureau. He's also the Terrorism Liaison Officer for the county, so he has direct communications with the FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force, and he's constantly monitoring the threat conditions for San Mateo County with what's happening in today's society. And he's also served honorably on our SWAT team since the late 80s in all capacities, from an operator to a team leader to a commander, and now the overall commander. So he's had a very busy career with the Sheriff's Office, and a lot of the success that we've had in the last few years, have you seen, we've made a lot of changes internally and externally because of Mark's direct influence. And he's also one of the founding members of the Big Five with Nancy. So I know Nancy's probably very upset that he's leaving as well. But I just wanted to publicly recognize him for his outstanding leadership, and we're going to miss you. And next April, the budget is on me. So, but thank you again, Mark.
You're assuming we're accepting his resignation.
Well, I was just going to, thank you, Joe. Always good to get a little extra money out of you before I leave. But no, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it, and it's been an absolute pleasure serving in the Sheriff's Office for as long as I have, and serving the communities of San Mateo County. I know the communities of San Mateo County better than I know my own, and I live in Santa Clara County. So it's been an absolute pleasure working with everybody in this room, and the efforts that we continue to make, and much like the living document associated with the Big Five, all the work we do in emergency management never stops. It's never going to be a point where we're perfect, where we don't need to debrief and do after actions and continually evolve and make our communities as safe as possible. But thank you very much, and I will miss this on a quarterly basis a little bit.
Mark, thank you so much for your service on all those fronts. You've been tremendous, absolutely tremendous. I didn't know it was coming so quickly. I did hear you were going to retire. Well, the best of luck to you. Okay, we have public comment. I don't see anybody rushing the podium. Is there anybody that wishes to address the board? Okay, hearing none. Are there any announcements by anyone? No? Okay, an adjournment. There you go. Well, the meeting is adjourned. Brian, did you get a response? Okay.